Welcome to Joe's Bar. What conversation can we get started for you tonight? Yes, hello everybody. Welcome to another Joe's Bar, and we are live from the good old WWC, representing When Words Collide yet again. And yeah, if you haven't heard by now, if you haven't seen the posts and everything like that, yes, this is truly the final Joe's Bar. We will be closing our doors after tonight, and it's been quite the journey, quite the ride. And you know, I started similarly, similar. Geez, I can't even see it. I've started very similar to the way that I am going out, and we were really Joe's Bar was kind of born through the WWC, even though I had been doing stuff like that before. But we took it on the road for the first time there and tried it out in Calgary. Mr. Mark Watson, who you'll be introduced to in just a second, was there. He's been to every single one we've had, and you know we have our friend Linda Allison with us as well, who has been with us for the last couple of years when we've been remote. So, this is really a really nice reunion and a nice little fun thing we do every year. So, I certainly will not be doing something at WWC next year. When we'll talk a little bit more about that later on. But yeah, this is kind of full circle for me. I even went old school and wore the same shirt I wore on the very first ever time I went live at the WWC in 2018. And so it's a little more worn than it was back then. But hey, it's 4 years old. To have a shirt 4 years old for me, that's an accomplishment for sure. But yeah, I'm real excited. We've got a good crowd going, so thank you everybody for being here. And throughout the night, if you've been here before, you've hung out with us before, we'd love to hear your favorite moments and everything like that. So please do share. Speaking of sharing, though, I want to get my guests in here and give them an opportunity to share a little bit about themselves. So, Mr. Watson, why don't you start us off and tell everybody a little bit about yourself?
Thank you very much, Joe. I am so glad to be back yet again. This is year number 4 that we have done this, and I wouldn't miss it for the world. I am Mark Watson. I am an author of genre fiction from Calgary, Alberta, Canada, the home of When Words Collide. And I am excited to be back. I can't wait to talk to you, to talk to Lindy, and enjoy the next little while with a drink in hand and good conversations to come.
Awesome. Thank you, sir, for joining us. We really appreciate it. All right, Miss Allison, you want to tell everybody a little bit about yourself? Tell everybody where you are, just in case nobody knows. But I would assume our audience is pretty regular, so they probably know. But just give them a little insight to you and yeah, introduce yourself and tell everybody where you're coming from, because I think everybody would get excited about that.
Well, I know everyone would prefer to be together in person, but one of the upsides of having a remote conference is people like myself can participate from far away. So I'm participating in the conference from Panama, a little beach town called Playa Coronado, where my husband and we own and operate a little business offering writing workshops and retreats. And I also write young adult science fiction and fantasy and adult short stories.
Nice. Welcome. Yeah, I mean, so as was mentioned, we are remote again this year. Just didn't work out the way everything was going to be planned, and so yeah, I'm real grateful for Randy for giving us this platform and the opportunity to be here and do this regardless of where we are and what we can do. It's a lot of fun. And he was not aware that this was going to be the last one either, but I pretty much sprung that on everybody. But yeah, it just worked out that way. And this is an idea that time has passed. It's past its time, and it's Go Indie now. It's not going anywhere. I'm not going anywhere, and I certainly am not going anywhere when it comes to When Words Collide. I will be hopefully there in person in Calgary next August when it happens live. That's the big news. If you haven't heard it already, it was announced that they're going to aim very, very hard to do it live next year. So that is the plan. And so I hope some of you get a chance to get out there, because it is a wonderful conference. I mean, it's just amazing. It's a wonderful, good time. I love hanging out with my friends, my Canadian friends, and everybody out there. So, but in the spirit of Joe's Bar, I mean, I'm here. I am yapping. There's a lot of people yapping in the chat. I mean, we got a ton of nice little folks here. Everybody, I asked everybody what they want to drink, and Anita Stewart says she wants some coffee to keep her going. Hi, Mike. Nice to see you. Hey, AJ, come on in. You're supposed to be in here in the bar, so come on up to the VIP table, man. Come on in. I feel like I could use some alcohol, but I've been trying to quit cigarettes, and the two just don't mix for me. All right, Mike, no problem. Have a shot for me. All right, woohoo. All right, yeah. Sorry, guys, I'm just trying to run through these.
That's what this is about. Talking to people, having a drink, conversation.
Hey, Booze. Good evening, everyone.
Hey, Booze.
Hey, John. Yeah. Hey, everyone. We missed you too, Richard. So excited to see everyone on. Even Ron is here. Yeah, Ron's here. Hey, and look at that, Jim Nettles is here. Hey, Jim, nice to see you. He doesn't miss a party, So just poured tea and about to watch on TV to enjoy. Awesome, that's cool. We love that. All right, everybody saying hi to everybody. And AJ says, "Love it. Love Panama." I've never been. I would love to go, but Panama's pretty friendly to us English-speaking folks, I would assume.
Yeah, actually, they're very much about encouraging people not just to come here as tourists, but also to come and live here. So, they offer some great visa opportunities. In the community I'm in, there are a fair number of English speakers, but I prefer to start learning the language, which I'm doing, and I probably could be doing a little faster, but it's getting there. I've got my restaurant Spanish down, and some of the important things, and they really invite people and entice them with a lot of discounts and opportunities here. So it's one of the high numbered places for people to retire to. So If you like beaches, mountains, I can walk the beach in the morning, and 40 minutes later I can be hiking in the mountains, and then I can be home for the afternoon to write if I want to structure my day that way. And so, it's a pretty sweet place to be, for sure.
Nice. I'm boning up on my Spanish as well. I'm trying to learn it. I have a trip I'm going to be taking in 2023 to a friend's wonderful island called Puerto Rico, and I'm going to be attending the Puerto Rico Comic Con next year, and maybe even covering it and saying hello to some of my Puerto Rican friends. So I'm real excited about that. So I'm trying to be enough conversational wise to kind of have, conversations where people feel comfortable speaking Spanish to me, even though I will butcher the hell out of it, no doubt. But, Rebecca says she's having a margarita, last bar ever. Of course, I will be there. We'd love it. Thank you, Regine, for being here. JD's here. Lori's here. Everybody's here. That's awesome. And Jim says, I'd never missed the last Jazz Bar. Plus, I'm at a con this weekend, 2 whole weekends in a row. Nice. Awesome. Thanks, everybody. All right. So what has everybody been up to in the last year? Have you all been writing? What's going on?
I have been writing. I think the last time we had a conversation about this, I probably said something along the lines of that I hadn't written very much lately. I spent a lot of the pandemic not writing. I only wrote about 5,000 words. And then, as is my nature, I just kind of fell into something and just started writing. And I wanted to get it down as quickly as I could. I blew through it in about 3 weeks for about 65,000 words and immediately sent it off to my publisher who's sitting on it right now. And so hopefully that will see the light of day sometime maybe next year. Working on my next audiobook because I've got that totally recorded. So now I'm just mastering it. And anybody who knows anything about audiobooks knows that it's a lot like writing in that, yeah, you can write the book. So like I can record the book with my voice, but the real fun is in the editing. So the real fun is in the mastering when it comes to audio. So that's going to be the time consuming part right now. But yeah, it was a lot freer year for me this year. So I actually did some writing and I can't wait for people to see what's coming out because I think it's going to be a surprise to a lot of people.
Interesting. Is this a completely new direction for you? A new series, new story, and everything, or is it tailoring on? You can't say. It looks you got that look like you can't.
I'm sorry, I got a drink in my mouth. I can't answer any questions. Yeah.
I might have spilled some beans that maybe didn't want to get spilled here.
No, I'm just really good at playing coy. I like to not kind of give those things away. I just think that people will be pleasantly surprised, whether you're a fan of what I've done up to this point or you've never read any of it. I think I was kind of sort of working in a little bit of a new genre while still working with some established themes that I've done before. I never stray too far because I'm simply not good enough. But yeah, I am happy with what it was that I wrote. I was afraid that I had written it too quickly because once I get inspired, as I've said many times before, there's no stopping me. I am a train. And then I'll shut her down for like a year because that's just what I do. I'm not somebody who can constantly go when it comes to writing. I write when the mood hits me and I avoid it when it doesn't.
Nice. How for you, Lindy? Are you writing anything new?
Yes. Well, since the last WWC, I finished the trilogy last year. So I published book 3 in November. And so following that, I put together a compilation of poems and songs from people who I know and published a writing journal for young writers as well. So as well as writing so they can read young readers. I'm also trying to encourage young writers. And then this year I'm spending writing the second trilogy, or as some people might say, the book 4, 5, and 6, depending on how you look at it, because it's the same character, but a different story arc.
Nice.
And book 1's at the critiquing beta reading stage. Book 2, first draft is done, and I'm just starting the draft of book 3. So the plan is to finish the writing of the second trilogy this year and publish the 3 come the new year.
Nice. JD says, Mark, you're a hibernating writer.
Yeah, exactly. That's probably the kindest kind of writer I've ever been called. I've been called a lot of, Mark, you're a blank writer. And I'll take hibernating for sure.
Yeah, that's probably better than what I've called you in the past.
Yeah, exactly. And that's all right. And I deserved every word of it. I'm not denying anything.
I mean, you have one of the greatest philosophies though about it. It really is. I mean, we've had this conversation a million times, but it is like one of the best philosophies about it. And I think if more people took that approach, we would have a lot. There would be a lot more freedom of creativity. I think in that respect, a little bit.
I think so. To kind of get anybody who doesn't know in the loop, my philosophy behind it is I like to call myself the anti-author, in that I speak to a lot of authors who are very much dedicated to word counts and goals and all those kinds of things. And I respect that. I understand where that comes from, but I don't think you're ever going to find anybody who's as against it as I am. I feel that people should write when they want to write. And if they're just not feeling it, if you have to force the words out, then people are probably going to have to force themselves to read it. And there are absolutely the artists out there, the starving artists and the tortured artists who create at their best when they are forcing themselves to do it. But I think that those people, especially in writing, are very few and far between. I have written 250,000 word books, and I have taken 10 years to do it from beginning to end, and editing and all the rest of it. And I have, like I said, just smashed out quick things when the mood has struck me. There's a book that I've been working on for a long time that I continue to talk about, that one day I might finish. Thank you. I appreciate that, Lori. I love this hat. This is my favorite hat, and anybody who's seen me before knows that I go a lot of places with this hat. But I feel that people in the writing community, if you can only write 5 words a day, or if you can't write 5 words in a year, that's okay. Yeah. Like there's no rules here. This is an artistic community, and everybody's going to approach it differently. And you should not get wrapped up in a lot of the flag waving and the banging the drum of this. If you want to be a successful writer, this is what you got to do. No, what you got to do is you got to enjoy yourself. That's what you got to do to be a successful writer. And if you're not doing that, even if you have all the money and the sales in the world, are you really successful if you're not enjoying yourself? That's a question for you to answer.
Yeah, for sure. Absolutely. And everybody's a little different, and that's okay too. Some people want to be traditional. Some people want to be indie. Some people want to do this. Some people want to do that. All of it's okay. It's all welcome. I think, being more inclusive in our community is something that I think really I've found very, very frank in WWC. I really found like there was a warmth to that idea that, everybody, I mean, you Canadians are just so awesome. I just feel like a warm hug every time I'm up there. And it's like, but yeah, but we have frank discussions and we have nice conversations, and we do have disagreements, but I think there is something to be said for the idea that let's welcome everybody in and encourage everybody to just write and enjoy whatever creative flow they have and how they do it. There's not one right way to do it. There's never been,
No, this writing is an art. And if there was one way to do it, only a right way and a wrong way, then there would only ever be one opinion. It's like raising a child. If it was easy to do, there'd only be one book on it, and that would be the end of it. And obviously there's not. So there's so many paths that we can follow, and so many people get wrapped up in other people's paths. And I can almost guarantee, I don't even know who you are who's listening to these words. Their path is not yours.
Yeah.
Just that simple.
Yeah. And I was going to post this one. Best rule here: if you have an awesome hat, you have to wear it on Joe's shows. Yes, that's
true. Yeah, that's true. I'm sorry you don't have a hat, Lindy. I apologize. I refuse to believe you don't have a Panama hat somewhere in that house at this moment. I refuse to believe
it. You can go get one if you'd like. No pressure. Again, all inclusive. You're all inclusive. To not have a hat or have a hat. I don't care.
I don't think she had a hat last year either, so it's okay. No. She's on trend then. She's on trend.
No, but I'm happy because I think the first time that we did this with you, Lindy, the wind was so incredibly whipping during that time period. It was really tough to you were having a hard time with it. I remember. I don't know if it was hurricane season or what was going on, but it was crazy.
I was sitting outside in my Bajío. I thought I'd sit out near my outdoor bar so I'd feel the whole vibe of the night thing. But yes, the wind picked up just as we started, and I think we kept muting me, and I'm like, oh, I'm not sure if I said anything. But tonight, as I was sharing with you earlier, I was all set up outside to go on my back porch, and Latino music started playing over the back fence, and I'm like, oh, okay, maybe we'll just move inside this year because all those music copyright things and we could get into.
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't have minded the music. It would have probably fit the mood pretty well, but the idea of it, YouTube and Facebook would frown upon us playing over it, even for a few seconds. It would just be not good. But And Ron says maybe there is one correct parenting book, and then a lot of people writing to market.
That's a very good point, and that's something I've actually thought about before. Like in the sea of parenting books, is there one that's actually 100% spot on? But we just haven't, like, we as a collective, as parents, just haven't kind of figured it out yet. I don't know. It's a good question. Maybe I'm not going to read them to find out.
Oh, Laura, you wore my hat before. When we met, I think you took my hat and you wore it for a little while. You look great in it, I thought. So you can pull off a hat.
Pulling off a hat is all about confidence. I remember when we were kids, I was a teenager, I was running around with my friends in like a Walmart, and we were like goofing around and putting on like silly hats. And there was like this weird like fisherman's hat that I put on right away. And then I just kind of turned around and smiled to my friends, and they're like, you're rocking that hat right now. Like, no lie, like you're doing good. Like, it's like you can pull off any hat if your confidence is high enough. And I have the hat collection to prove it.
I'm totally a ball cap girl. So if I was wearing a hat tonight, it would probably either say Greece on it, or it would have what is known as a mola, which is a indigenous sewing that's on the front of my cap. So
nice.
That would have been
Yeah, I am
no Calgary Stampeders or anything like that.
I don't have any Stampeders stuff because I'm actually not a Stampeders fan. I was born and raised in Toronto, so I'm one of, I think, 3 Toronto Argonauts fans in the entire world, and their attendance levels show that they're missing me attending their games in Toronto because they are not that hot. But hey, they're 3-6 record and still first place in the East, so there you go.
That's awesome. I love it. And but you're a Calgary Flames fan, aren't you? No. You're a Maple Leafs fan.
I am a Maple Leafs fan.
Yeah. I do know that. Yeah.
I have no problem with the Calgary Flames so long as they're not playing the Toronto Maple Leafs. They can only do me good if they win. If they win against the West, they're doing good. The city's happy. If they win against the East, they're beating a team in my team's division. As long as they're not playing my team, they're all right in my books.
Awesome. Yeah, we'll lose a lot of people if we start talking sports.
yeah, that's okay. I've had my moment. I'm good. Go Leafs. Okay, moving on.
Unless you write a book about one, then you'd be okay.
Yeah,
exactly.
You should, though. I mean, your kids all play sports. You know them very well.
Yeah, but I'm not talented enough to write a book that's sad enough to describe being a Toronto Maple Leafs fan. I'm good with words, but I'm not that good. I could not do it justice how terrible it is.
So, I mean, I was curious, I don't know if we talked about this last year, but I'm curious, what do you miss in person that you can't get from this weekend this way that you think is so vital and so amazing about WWC? I'm kind of curious about that. There's a couple things for me, but I just think Noir at the bar is much different in person than it is online. I really enjoyed that camaraderie, but I also think Josh Pantelleresco does this thing with Dr. Seuss, and I had so much fun with that. The last time I did it for the first time, the last one that was live, and I really would love to do that again. That was so much fun.
And knowing Josh, he's probably excited to do that again in person because he has fun. Everybody in the crowd has fun. It's a fantastic time. The biggest thing for me, especially at When Words Collide, is as far as like my schedule goes, I only ever attend maybe 3 or 4 actual scheduled events over the course of the weekend. Mm-hmm. I just kind of float. I kind of drift. I see what's going on. I talk to some friends I haven't seen in a while, and I make some new friends, and it's a whole lot more difficult to do that kind of thing here. I mean, obviously the things have changed and we have to make certain concessions, and that's fine. But the most fun that I've had is just drifting around and seeing what's going on. And hey, there's some friends of mine over by the pool, and hey, something's going on at the bar, and somebody's like, oh, hey, Mark, did you see this presentation's going on? It might be really good. To be, man, that sounds fantastic. I think I'll go to that too, right? Like it's just it's a weekend with my people, and it can still be successful like this, but it can also be limiting. I understand that this is like every year this is getting more and more successful doing it virtually, and it's a credit to Randy and his team, absolutely. As I will praise him and everybody on the Windwards Glide team every single year, regardless of what format it is. But everybody knows, as much fun as this is, we'd much rather be sitting there face to face and sharing stories, both literally and figuratively. So I look forward to that happening. But if it's got to be sitting at home, this isn't that bad, and I think that that's pretty good.
You know, the one thing I will say about the home, doing it virtually, that I don't get while I'm there, because like you, I get pulled different directions, and then somebody wants me to meet somebody, and even in the panel, like I actually got shushed once because I was talking, Con and I were talking, and somebody came up and wanted to introduce themselves to us, and then we started talking in the back, and then the panels go. So like I hosted a lot of panels the first year we did this live. I'm not doing that this year, but I did a lot of that, and I would learn so much, because I was like, holy shit! I was listening to all these panelists going, wow, this is incredible information, so much knowledge. So I was absorbing a lot more than I would be live, because I'm just so distracted all the time, which is good. I love the social aspect of it too, but yeah, it's just funny that way for me.
Mm-hmm.
How about for you, Lindy? What do you miss?
Definitely personal connection. Certainly that's how we met, Joe, was when I was at my very first conference.
Mm-hmm.
I do kind of miss staying at my friend's house in Calgary, because their husband cooks for us, so that's pretty But that was my first conference 3 years ago. So I was taking it all in. I was getting from workshop to workshop, and trying to get to everything that I could, and meet as many people as I could. And I find that, in meeting people, there's the ongoing support too, right?
Yeah.
We have the benefit of having the videos on the YouTube, so we can see the sessions in the future again. But those personal connections that we make, like meeting Con at Joe's Bar last year. I mean, this past year, he was a guest on my blog, sharing about how he was doing his audio books and coaching people how to do that. And just meeting those kinds of connections that provide ongoing education and support and encouragement, and sometimes just understanding, because if you've been writing for any length of time, you realize that things don't always go as planned or as you expected, and it's really not a bad thing to have great people who you can call on and share those experiences with, and find out it's kind of normal. Or like Susanna Kearsley was saying today, she was talking about how there are no rules, and when people would ask questions, she responded so well by saying, well, this is how I would do it, but you need to, as Mark was saying, find your way and how to do it. And then you might find a few other people doing it that way. It's kind of nice to learn some of the things the easy way, like from someone else's mistakes, instead of having to make them all yourself.
Well,
You're guaranteed to make some yourself, so you'll give back by sharing what you've learned from your mistakes, and helping others not to make those. And so yeah, developing personal connections, I think, is really key, and also the top-notch speakers that we hear from.
Yeah.
Jonas Saul I met the first year, and
he's so great.
Following him and learning, how he'd had, I forget, like 35 books out at the time, mostly on his Sarah series, and reading his books and having him edit some of my work and be encouraging, gives you the confidence to be able to pursue that for yourself. The funny thing with Jonas Saul, we couldn't believe it. I taught school in the same area where he went to school, and so.
Oh wow!
So it was kind of interesting when we were having our online discussion, because he was in Greece and I was in Panama, and we were talking about how we used to live in the same area in Ontario, and we met through a conference in Calgary, and so just the ability to make those kinds of connections is pretty powerful.
That's awesome. I love that. Jonas is great. Yeah, I met him the first time I was on a lot of panels with him, and the first time I attended When Words Collide, and yeah, I got to talking to him, and he's really great for somebody who's done so much in this business. He's so open and honest, and just really easy to talk to, and yeah, it's great. Mr. Proctor said one of those times where me and Catherine, yeah, and funny thing about these two, Mr. Proctor and Catherine. There, we had made plans for when 2020 came around. They were going to take me on a foodie tour of Calgary and take me to some restaurants. So hopefully that invitation still stands in 2023, because I'm for it, AJ. So tell Catherine I'm in if you guys want to do that, because I really, really would love. That's the one thing about it. Like, I only see that one strip of freeway when I'm at When Words Collide. I went to that barbecue place like 3 times, because across the street over there in the corner, because there's just nothing else around there. I mean, there used to be the restaurant and the bar, and then the last time I think it was the restaurant. I think it was closed, right? The last
open one, because they changed the format of the bar. I can't remember, or it was like closed for part of it because they turned it into like a games bar, which was great. It was still tons of fun because I went back in there. It might have been open the last time. I'm trying to think, because I can't go to a When Words Collide without having a beer with Con. And I'm thinking at this point it's been like 2 or 3 virtual ones, so I owe him like 3 beers now at least. I'm sure. That's not a legally binding contract, Con. If you ever watch this, I am not going to necessarily honor that. I just want to know. But yeah, they had done something different with the bar for sure, and something had changed. But it's still open right now, and
they have that one. They have that one sports bar a little bit down the road. There's a Tim Hortons, which I had to do. I had to be that guy. I had to have a Tim Hortons coffee, and so I went to Tim Hortons, and then I found there was a sports bar behind it, right down the road, and so I visited that place. That was okay. It was all right. I had some good poutine there, but.
There's plenty of places for good poutine.
I know. Yeah, I know that. Yeah, that's the goal. That's how the whole conversation with Catherine started with me. Was you think you have poutine? Let me take you to some really great places. There's some really great places in Calgary.
So. Yeah, we've got places downtown dedicated to it. So yeah,
it is fun. Con is.
Okay. So the bottom line of this particular meeting is everybody loves Con. Con's a great guy, and
and we all owe him a beer. So
we all owe him a beer. I am here doing these kinds of things because Con was nice enough to reach out to me once. So yeah, it was just a chance meeting, and doing all the stuff at When Words Collide ever since all kind of stemmed from that one meeting. So I'll buy him a beer anytime he wants one.
Yeah, I was gonna bring this up, Lori. I saw that AJ he answered you, but I would say, yeah, you and Mike should come up to Calgary. We would have a blast. So it's a lot of fun, and so we're having a conversation about Calgary here, and I would love to also do the Stampede once. I know that's a really stupid thing, but I would love to do it. We'll just be there one time. I know that's not the mecca for food, although I've heard it's getting better and better.
It all depends. It depends which way you want to go. I am a man who loves going to Stampede. I'm a Stampede food eater. It's what I do. And like some people go down there to go on all the rides, or go to the rodeo, or go to the chuck wagons at night, or go check out what's going on, the concerts or the bars. I'm there for the food. I want you to take a really terrible food. I want you to cover that food in batter. I want you to stuff that food in another food, which cover that food in batter. Then I want you to stick a pickle in it, and then you put it on a stick, and then I'm going to eat that food. And there's been times I've been like, well, this is the grossest thing I've ever had. And there's been other times where it's like November and I'm like, I would
Where has
kill.
this been all my life?
It's like the middle of winter and I'm like, I would kill somebody right now for a Stampede deep fried Philly cheesesteak. I swear to God. But it's so good. It's so good.
JD says another author goal is going to WWC, taking a picture with Khan with me dressed up in Star Trek or screaming his name. I've done that so many times to that poor man. I always tell him the first time I see him, I have to do it, and he just sits there, smile with a smile on his face, and lets me do it.
He smiles. He's too nice a guy to tell you otherwise. So it's all right.
Yeah, I know it. I know deep down inside, he's like, I'm gonna kill this motherfucker if he does it one more time.
Well, you're welcome here for some empanadas and seafood.
Oh my God! Oh.
I was watching an empanada making video just earlier today. I am desperate for empanadas. I will take you up on that offer.
All right. We can do a show from here, but we'll have to make sure the wind's not blowing if we're out by the bar.
Well, there I can control the atmosphere a little bit better. So yeah, I have wind shields and things like that we can put up and stuff like that. But I would love that. I would love to visit Panama and hang out and do all the wonderful things that you can do. That I mean, I'm sure. Have you been? You probably go hiking daily, I would imagine.
Well, I go walking, either street walking or beach walking daily. I probably only hike maybe about 3 times a month.
Mm-hmm.
I love following Lindy's beach adventures and all the stuff that she finds.
Me too.
The random bits of flotsam and tchotchkes and whatever else happens to wash up, be they natural or man-made. I live vicariously through you when I see those kinds of things, Lindy. I just want you to know that.
Beach combing, and there's always something that's being washed up on the beach. But I had a little freak out moment one time when I found like this really large, or to me it seemed like a really large bone, and I was like, oh my gosh, like what do I do now? Like, do I call the police, or like what do I do? I don't know if I speak enough Spanish to call the police. And so I tell my friend about it, and she says, oh, well, there's this cemetery a couple towns up from you, and it's getting pretty full. So when they bury people, some people just get pushed out to sea. So,
oh my gosh.
There's definitely a story here for sure. But I posted the bone, and fortunately, there are other people who sometimes watch all those crazy things that I find on the beach, and they kind of killed the story, told me it was either a cow or a horse bone, but well, there could be a story there too.
But the story is still absolutely there.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I mean, you could go many directions. You could even multi-genre. I mean, you could go horror, you could go thriller, you could go. I mean, you could even maybe do some kind of weird like paranormal romance. Maybe with it. I mean, like my gears were churning when you said bones and abandoned boats and on the beach for sure.
Yeah, sounds like a prompt for you to write, Joe.
I don't know. I'm so behind on my prompts. I have so many promised things, and my publisher is actually in the chat right now. So, and I'm sure she's ready to get out the cattle prod and start whipping me into shape. But yeah, I have so many things on my plate right now. I gotta get through some of them somehow, some way. And I'm taking my time, Mark. I'm not rushing it, but I'm just saying, I feel like I need to get some words out. It's not coming. It's just not coming sometimes, and sometimes you just have to ride that wave.
You absolutely do. It can be good to try and get yourself out of it, and I've done that before. And like I've done it before where I've been like, okay, I gotta write something. I'm just going to sit down and try and write something, and I might actually make something that I can be happy with, but I've never personally found that it has kickstarted the engine to get me absolutely writing. It's always had to come from a more honest place than that for me. So I mean if it works for you, great, but it doesn't work for me.
See, here's my thing, right? So I was asked to be a part of an anthology, to do this 10,000 word story, a horror story, because I was talking to the publisher about how I really wanted to publish something in that genre, and I just don't know if I have a full novel in me. I've done horror films and stuff like that, and I've worked on a lot of horror stuff, but I just wanted to publish a story. And she has this idea for an anthology, and she gave me a prompt to work with, and that was when we met in October in Atlanta when I was at Multiverse, and we did that, and then I forgot about it, and then I see her pretty much on a regular basis, virtually every week, and so she kept reminding me. And she goes, she finally sat, like it was a middle of June, and she said, "Okay, if I give you to the end of August, do you think you can do it?" You know how many words I've written in this story, and it's
Don't out yourself. Don't
August
out yourself. I'll cover for you, Joe. I'll cover for you. So I've been talking to Joe privately off of this chat, and he says that he's almost done.
12.
It's true.
Yeah. But yeah, so it's like in the middle of June, I go, oh yeah, I can make end of August easily. 10,000 words, that's no problem, right? It's 10,000 words is a lot more than you think it is, especially when you don't have a flushed out idea, right? And you have to figure that out, right?
Yeah.
And then I have two books that I have due to my publisher, so. And she's in there going right now. Oh, you're doing some other stuff, right?
I find that when I can't write on my story, it's often because there's other junk going on. So if I give myself a prompt and I give myself permission, just put some junk on the page that I may never look at again, but it somehow is kind of blocking what I do need to write. Or there might just be like one or two things that I draw from that. And for me, writing begets writing. So like when I get on a roll, I can keep writing, but then when it gets stopped, the getting started again. And so often what the process is for me is just, it's okay if I write this, and even if I toss it or whatever I do with it, sometimes I'll even find a little part that I think will go in the story, and I'll delete it later. But at least it got the story writing, and when I got that out of the way, the idea was in behind that. And it's almost like I peeled something away and uncovered it, and whoa, look, there's the story there, and now I can write. So
I love that philosophy, because that is exactly how I go. Like, I'm like Mark. If I just go, I will go until I can't go anymore, and like literally exhaust myself, and and do it. I mean, I wrote an entire feature film in 72 hours because it just came out of me, and I just couldn't stop. And I didn't. I took like I Van Goghed it. I took like hour naps in between, like little bouts of, and then of course I woke up out of a dream about the story, and I had to write that down. So, but that's how I go, and so I doing the 500 words a day thing and doing NaNoWriMo and all those things are nice, and if they work for you, that's great. But for me, that's just not how I operate. I spit it out in chunks, and I find that even if it's garbage, which most of it is, let's be honest, 90% of it I chuck. I don't, and that's another thing that I'm infamous for around here that people don't like, is the idea that I let words go away. If they don't mean anything to me, I don't hold them in separate files. I don't put them in junk files. I don't put, that was a good idea, I'll stay for another time. No, if it doesn't work for the story I'm writing, I throw it. I toss it. I delete it, and it's gone forever. I don't care. Their words, they'll come back to me if they really need to be back. And so I'm doing that. And this story, I have such a great concept and great idea for it, but it just keeps hitting a wall. And when I hit walls, that's the tough part for me, because I'm a pantser, and that's a really hard thing to get over. And then what I always do with that is I write the beginning and end usually, and then I have a middle that I have to fill in, and it's like that never works either. You can never piecemeal it like that. I got to go straight through the flow, But that's how I operate. If anybody ever wanted insight into this crazy brain of mine, but You know?
It works. It works for you. I mean, I've read your work, and your work is good. So
Thank you.
I'm not gonna tell you what's right and what's not. Obviously.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's a good point. Also, a crap ton of stuff. Yeah, like it's a like.
Yeah, but we're all busy. I mean, that's if you can't find time to write, that's just the way it is, right? That's life. But
It is. It is. And I mean, I could easily write off, well, I can't write anything for the next 8 months because it's the hockey season and I got to coach my kids and I got to watch it and I've got to, do my regular job because anybody who knows me knows that I don't write at home. I never have written at home. I don't write in coffee shops. I only write at my office. And that's the only place I feel comfortable doing it. And it's difficult to really get on a roll when that's the way you write, and then it's so easy to get distracted because I'm tired. I was up late last night because my kid had a late ice time.
yeah. For people who don't know, Mark is super dad, so just which is awesome. I love it. I just think it's just amazing. But Regine says, I think Bone on the Beach, a romantic horror is the title that asks and answers a bunch of questions.
That's a good one. Run with it.
Yep.
And hang on. Oh yeah, that's a good point there. But I wanted to get some. Sorry guys, I'm running through. I mean, there's just a lot of chat.
I'm glad to see so much chat though, so that's good.
Rebecca says that's why you have a Jonesy Joe. I can break the walls or legs, whichever works best.
I saw her already offering to fly to California and threatening with a cattle prod.
That's not a good thing when she's I mean, it's a good thing for me, but it's not a good thing. You know what I mean?
I'm just going to tour around the Bay Area and kick Joe in the ass.
Yeah, and Madeline says your level of busy is different than ours. Not sure when you sleep. And sleep is for the sane. Yes, that is very true. Sleep is definitely for the sane. I do sleep though, but I find that as I get older, I have to sleep a little bit more. But I found ways to deepen my sleep and get the most out of it. So
my secret is exhausting myself to the point of unconsciousness.
I used to do stuff like that. Like I would go really hard and then my body would shut me down and like literally I'd sleep for an entire day and then I'd be great again. But as you get older, you just realize that's not a very good thing for you. I don't
do it until you have to stop. That's that's my philosophy about playing baseball and when I sleep. Do it until
and it'll be your philosophy about drinking too, I'm sure. At some point.
Yeah, there's that too. Well, I'm already empty. Oh, there's some vapors in here. There you go.
If you need to go get another drink, that's fine, sir.
No, it's okay. That's enough. That's enough for me right now. You didn't see where that glass started when it comes to fill level, so.
Yes, that happens. It does happen. So, I don't know. But yeah, I think everybody's different in their writing philosophy and how they work. Are we all, Mark? I know you plot a little bit, right? You have some semblance of plotting idea.
It depends.
I think we're all kind of hybrid at this. I think that's my contention is that we all kind of walk a middle ground in some respects, but.
Yeah, I am a pantser just like yourself. When it comes to plotting, I think it depends on what I'm working on. I have my kind of overarching science fantasy world, my Ryujin world. I've got 3 books that are kind of written in that world that I have to plot that a little bit because I'm somebody who hates a plot hole. So I have to make sure that I'm like, oh yeah, his blonde hair blew in the wind when like 2 books ago I wrote that he had brown hair or something like that. Like I have to plot a little bit that way. But for the other stuff I worked on, like for short stories and for my debut Death Dresses Poorly, it was just blah, type it. And then like, yeah, this is fine. Because with Catching Hell, the first one of my Ryujin world, I ended up cutting probably a third of it when it was done. Like it ended up being 250,000 words, but before that it was like 350,000 words. And it took me a long time and rereading. It literally took me like 3 or 4 years to finally be able to stop editing and stop myself. But when I did Death Dresses Poorly, and the same goes with this hot project that I'm teasing, but who knows when it'll see the light of day, I edited Death Dresses Poorly twice, I think, and then I was done with it. I'm like, I already love where this is right now, and an editor is going to be able to look at this and do way more with it than my nitpickiness is ever going to be able to. So if I have to plot it, it's probably going to take a lot of personal editing, and if I just full on pants it, it's just word vomit on the keyboard, then I'm as much as my publisher / editor is going to hate me saying this, it's someone else's problem. So I'm gonna.
Nice.
I definitely see it as a kind of a slidey scale, and obviously you've got your pantsers that are just going for it. I have written that way. It became quite unwieldy, and then I ended up having to delete all these tangents, and it was quite a bit of work to tidy it up. So in my future writing, I tried to have at least a loose outline, and it's surprising. Some books, they have come with more of an outline. So I slide the scale over here, and I'm a little bit more of a someone who's outlining. The next one, it's not coming. So I'm flying by the seat of my pants. I slide the scale. So, I don't really see myself as being a one or the other, but, on this slidey scale, depending on what the need is, so if people are asking, what do you do that works for you? It's like, it depends. On this book, it worked this way. On this one, like, not so much. We're way over here.
And this is great because you've got 3 authors sitting right here. It's a great kind of callback to what it was we were talking about before. We got 3 authors sitting right here, each with multiple works to our names, and we're still talking about the different ways that each of those works have come together and formed themselves into the world, and none of them are the same. Like we're only talking about a handful of books here, and there's only a small collection of us, and every story is different. And isn't that my overlying message that I want to send to the world?
That's very true. It is very true. And even if it's within the same world and the same series, you grow as a writer, you change that's a problem I'm dealing with now. Is like I published the first book on my own, and my publisher now that I'm with I gave them the rights to take it, and we started to take it apart, and we actually were doing this thing where we're adding a couple chapters into the first book to tie together the entire series, because when I wrote the first book, my intention was I was done. I was writing the first book and I was done, and I wasn't going to make it a series. I wasn't going to make it a trilogy, and then it turned into a trilogy, and so it has loose ties, but it doesn't have a good tie together. So we were working on that. And then what I was realizing is I'm such a much better writer than I was when I originally wrote that. And I started rewriting the whole thing. And that got in the way for me. And it was like, wait. I've already published this. What am I doing? And so even stuff I have written, I'm going back and looking at it differently.
Yeah, absolutely. I think of it all the time, especially with Catching Hell, just because it's so big and there's so much going on, where I'm like, I start to think about something that happens to the characters that I like a lot more than what was done. And I'm like, wait a minute, it's already done. It's already a book. It's already been sold. It's already been out in the world for like 4 years. Like, no, it's the neuroses of being an author. Absolutely.
Yeah. I mean, every time I see a typo, I'm just like, oh, God damn.
Yeah.
Now, I'm going through the same thing because I've been thinking about putting an anthology out of these personal essays and flash fiction and short fiction. And some of them have been previously published, but I'm going back and I'm making a few, not too many modifications, but who knows, but if I ever put out the collection, it might be a different story because, we grow and I think, oh, there was an opportunity. I could have, used a specific word instead of a general word, made it more rich. Or, oh, there's an opportunity. I could have included, an additional sense so the person feels more a part of the scene. And, when you take your eyes off the work, it gives you some distance from it and it helps you to observe it more. And I think probably as you grow as a writer, every past work, we need to kind of look at it as how we've grown, and that's a good thing, and that no work we're ever going to put out is going to be perfect. And even when you have it edited and proofread, you'll still find the occasional mistakes. I find that in traditional published books that I read, they have editing teams, and there are still errors in them. And you got to get back to what the point is, and the point is we want to tell a really good story.
Yeah,
exactly. Exactly.
If you're growing and telling really good stories, then that's all we can ask of ourselves, and that's all our readers ask of us too. So we're in alignment with what they're looking for. So.
And sometimes you have to accept that it's good enough, right? If people like it and people want to read it and people tell you about how good it is. I mean, I have people talking about my book now, and that it's 7 years it's been published, and it's like so you have to accept that too. We have to learn to accept that aspect of it too, and just realize we were at a point, we wrote something that people like, let it go, but
yep.
Sometimes, as Rebecca said in the chat, she said that the story was not done with me, and that's probably true. I'm probably just not done with that story, and it's attached itself to me, and I need to finish it. That's kind of how I look at it too, though. But
they are our word children, and we always want what's best for them, and we get to the point where we have to let them go, just like our actual children, and sometimes they're going to make mistakes when they're out there because that's just the way the world works. But I'm mostly at a good place, but I don't think I'm ever going to completely be like, and that book is done and moving on to the next one.
Yeah,
it's
not
that easy for me.
I think if I was at that place, I always made this joke. I always said when I was making films, if I ever was on a film set where everything went right and was perfect, I would never edit that film, because I know the next day it will come together smoothly and be perfectly made, and I'll know the next day that I might keel over and die. So because if once creativity stops and the neurosis stops for me, I'll feel like, oh man, that's probably it. I've reached the ascension that I was looking for.
That is our calling card as creators. The this isn't quite right, or no one's going to like it, or like I know very little authors who either don't currently have or haven't experienced bouts of imposter syndrome, and it is prevalent in the industry, and it's okay because we all have it at some point. Yeah. And even for books that we've released, even for books that we have out there that are successful and have done well and have earned praise, it doesn't matter. We're always going to poke holes in it. We're always going to find those little things that are like, but I could have structured this one a little bit different. Yeah. You're not alone. I'm going to say it again. You are not alone, anonymous writer who's watching this.
And Rebecca brings a pretty good thing up here. She says authors should only do 2-3 passes before they hand it off to someone else every time.
Well, so I did 3 years, so I just got confused.
Every year was
so somebody said 3 passes. Did somebody say 3 years? Okay, yeah, no, I'll just do editing for 3 years. That's exactly what I'll do.
Yeah. If I ever find a typo, I always think of that picture book that came out that was the numbers. There were like 2 oranges and 3 apples.
Yes.
5 bananas, but the picture there's 6 bananas, and I think, hey, if they can miss that, someone can miss.
You can't make me drop my manuscript, Jonesy. You can't make me. I'm going to hang on to it. I'm going to edit it again. After like 2 years, I wrote out an entire main character and had to start again. So, and it was for the betterment of the story. So you can't tell me I'm wrong.
Well,
That's funny you say that, because I have the same notion with the third book I'm writing of this trilogy, and it's like, wait, maybe I should stay in the voices that I've always been in. Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off, Lindy. I apologize.
Yeah, no, I was going to say I had written kind of a retelling of a popular fantasy story, and then I thought, then I got all nervous about it. So I scrapped that and I rewrote it, and then I'm just finishing the rewrite, and I get this email, and it said, "We're looking for retells of fantasy stories." I should not have rewritten that.
You never know what's going to be hot tomorrow, right?
Yeah.
So
I make a lot of people drink. So
yeah, it makes me drink too. Like, no, wait, this was me. This was just me.
Maddie's on me now too about finishing, so Joe makes me want to start. Yeah, it's crazy. The crazy things that go on in our heads, right? And the ideas that we have, and the neurosis that we have, but at the end of the day, the one thing, as we get closer to wrapping this up, I think the one thing that I think we can all agree on is how universally awesome it feels to have completed something and putting it out there in the world, regardless of how it's going to be. You have no control of how it's going to be perceived, what it's going to do, how much money it's going to make or not make in our cases, and all those things. And all those things should never, they should be a thought, but they should never be the driving force. The creative energy that you put into this and put out there, I think, is paramount to the experience. And I think finishing it is equally as such. And it's an accomplishment that a lot of people don't ever feel in their lifetime. And so to have us, as Mark mentioned, we all have multiple things out there. To have multiple things out there is an incredible feeling as well. And, I think we should all be applauded for that,
I completely agree. And the one thing, especially once you have multiple things out there, is now we have to suddenly learn that a fan of one of our works might not necessarily be a fan of another of our works. And they're all our children, like I said before, but they might not necessarily land that exact same way with the audience, but they can find an all brand new audience. I am constantly saying there is a fan for every word ever written, and we just have to find it, even if it's something that you're not too sure about.
Mm-hmm.
Put it out there anyway, because you will find your audience. I guarantee that there's an audience for it. You just gotta work towards it.
Yeah, I always relate it back to two friends who I had who, one would come to me and say, "You have to see this movie. It's amazing. You're going to love the characters, and you're not going to believe the plot twist." And then my other friend would come to go, "Don't go see that movie. It sucks," And so, all work. You have to find, who your audience is and who appreciates it. I think for me, what kind of gave me the confidence to put it out there was when I was getting really contradictory feedback from, publishers. So one was saying, you really need to be, doing a lot more world building. And then, the same week I was getting, "You know what? You've got too much world building, slowing the pacing," right? And then I'm thinking, that sounds like I have just about the right amount of world building to let it go.
Yeah, the averages seem to be working. So
it's Olympic figure skating. You take off the highest score and
highest and lowest, and then you add it up, and then you multiply.
The middle's about right.
Yeah.
You're like my girlfriends, aren't you? One's not.
That's awesome. Yeah, it's an adventure. I gave up creating for. I can tell everybody I gave up creating for a few years. I went and worked in Hollywood, and that'll cure you of all creative energy that you've ever had. I worked there for 18 months, and I was so done with the creative process after experiencing what I experienced I gave it up for 4 or 5 years. I met my now ex-wife, who was then my girlfriend wife, before during that period of dormancy when I wasn't creating, and she fell in love with me without that. But then she really fell in love with me when she discovered I had creative energy, and when I got it back, because she was the one who she's the one to thank for putting Amongst the Killing out there, because she's the one who found it in a box as we were moving, and then said, "Hey, look, you should finish this. You should get this done. You need to take another take another whack at this." And we did, and we worked it out, and she helped me figure out the ending and everything like that. And so I haven't left, the energy hasn't left me yet. So I'm going to ride the wave until
Keep it going. Keep it going.
But you really, it's that old saying, you don't know what you got till it's gone. And it's kind of, and to be fair, it wasn't gone. I just pushed it away and kept it in the closet.
Mhm.
It was the monster under my bed for a very long time. And I was miserable without it. So creative energy is just something I have to have. So it's just, personally, it drives me and fuels me. So in everything I do. So
yeah, good, as it should. I feel the same way about baseball. Tied it back to sports.
Nice job. Although your Blue Jays are kind of stuck in the middle there, but that's another conversation for another day.
I don't want to look at tonight's score again.
Yeah, one of the things that I love about conferences like this, when Words Collide, just to kind of even put a bow on it, is the idea that when I'm not even there for the classes, even though the panels and the classes are really great, and there's a lot of incredible things that go. I mean, they've had detectives there who will teach you about, how to write about examining bodies, and I mean, just spending an hour with Susie Vidori alone will make you an incredible expert on everything, because she's amazing, and she has an incredible array of publishing knowledge. But just do I took a class. I did one of those things that you were talking about earlier with Josh. Mark, Josh was going to take this class. It was a Winston Pays class, and what he was teaching was how to take a book and just black out things and look, and then what are you just unconsciously black out things, and then what are you left with the words? What do those words mean to you? And I thought that was such an incredibly uplifting, creative energy type of thing that only I would get a lot out of. But there was 15 people in there who got a lot out of it. But but that was a social aspect of it as well, social experiment, and talking to people and just conversating. Like, my energy just peaks to beyond levels, and I think that's the greatest thing about that.
Usually I take a nap first, then
fair enough.
Yeah, that's fair. Yeah.
Because it can run you down. Yeah, it's a long day. And you have to be on for a long time.
You got to be on for a long time. Absolutely. That's something that not a lot of people get. Like, I have a decent case of social anxiety for a lot of things, and I mean, I get through it by powering through, and this is me. I'm not saying that this isn't me. Like, even in an interview conversation like this is still me. But you catch me in those quiet moments when I'm sitting at home, and this is not me. But we can be those multiple people. But it is just a whole weekend of being. It's the same as when I'm going to a con, like I'm going to an expo or something like that. Especially if I have a booth or I'm selling something. It's just on all the time, and it is exhausting. But it's that exhaustion that you feel at the end of a hard day's work that you can feel proud of. So I don't mind it at all.
Yeah, I agree. It's
I find in the resting, kind of, there are certain things that you've learned that kind of rise up to the top as you rest, that become really apparent to you, that are the most helpful to you at that point in time. And those are the things that you can begin with, because it is when you're doing a workshop every hour, all day for 3 days, that's pretty intense, and it's a little bit overwhelming. Especially the first time when I went, everything was new and I had to learn everything. At least now I know a few things, and now I'm learning a few things. It's not so intense and overwhelming, but in the resting and allowing, those things that are kind of poking at you in the workshops and prodding you, like, there's a little area of weakness where you could improve, or here's something you need to look at, or this is something that I could really build into my story and it would be a better story. Those things kind of come up to the top. And then you're right, Joe, that creative energy. And it's just so much fun, right? As you see your story becoming rich by that.
Yeah. I will say the one aspect of WWC that is interesting for me is because, like I said, people are always coming up to me. I know so many people there, and I've gotten lucky to have so many great friends, and people want to introduce me to people, and I'm just lucky in that respect. But going from this one building to the other building and crossing that little bridge they have to cross through, I run into so many people. I can never get to the class that I have to get to the other side there. So like I literally, the last one, I literally left the class like 10 minutes early. That I didn't want to leave 10 minutes early because I knew if I didn't leave there, because it was the one thing I really, really wanted to do on the other side. So I had to literally leave the previous class 10 minutes early to get across, and literally I just made it to the class. And that's just because you just run into some of it and you just want to talk, and you go, I haven't seen you yet, let's talk for an hour, kind of thing. But that's the one thing about it. But so I always try like the last day to kind of find the clump where it's like I don't have to go too far away because I know the last day everybody's kind of talked out anyway, so it's kind of like I can get a lot of knowledge from the last day, absorb a lot more. So that's how I approach it. But I'm sure everybody's a little different, but it's just interesting to me. Anyway,
well, it didn't work that way for me yet because I haven't met that many people. But Joe, I'll be one of those people that stops you now because you're the only guy I know there.
Please do. I love it.
Even if I've already seen you at one of these, I'm going to just stop you anyway because I know you're going to have someplace you got to go, and you're too nice a guy to shoot me off. So,
yeah. Well, one of these days, I don't think you and I have actually sat down and had a beer yet at this thing. So
no, we always have conversations. We've had a number of interviews, but absolutely.
Yeah, I mean, I finally places. Like the first two. Adam Drees and I kept running into each other. Like our schedules just wouldn't mesh up, and like we wanted to sit down and talk. And so finally we just grabbed each other like in the hallway and said, let's go to the hotel bar. And we sat down and talked for like an hour and a half.
And knowing both of you, that's about the only way you two could ever actually sit down and have a conversation. It's just like two tornadoes clashing into one another and
yeah.
Okay, we're going to do something right now. We must do it.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun. But yeah, I mean, that's the kind of thing you have to do. You almost have to set aside time if you're trying to see somebody you really want to see because, dude, I mean, I want to take as much as I can, though. I mean, I'm always a sponge. I think the way that they organize this thing is so wonderful, and they have so much good knowledge there. And I just want to be a part of it. Even if I'm not on the panel, I just want to be there and absorb as much as I can. My notebook is full by the end of the weekend. So,
and conversely, I don't even bring one. So, see, it's those conflicting styles.
Yeah.
Even when it comes to how you absorb something like When Words Collide, there are different opinions.
But you do absorb. I know you. I know you do absorb.
Absolutely, I absorb. I just, I don't have I'm again anti-author Mark. I never have a notebook like ever. Yeah. I have the one for voice recording audiobooks only because that way I write down and I know where I'm at because I know I'm going to get lost. But that's the only thing that I use a book for.
Nice.
And plus, it's such great value, for someone who's starting out and there's so much to learn, and there are lots of courses available, but to have it offered for, well, when it's online for free and then in person, remarkably still,
Mm-hmm.
only for $50, when you think about just booking the rooms, what that would cost, it's really incredible value. And so, like Joe, you're talking about wanting to be inclusive, and certainly on the financial side, it's very inclusive, people, can, get hundreds of dollars worth of workshops over a weekend for $50. It's quite remarkable.
Except for that Saturday night when you go into that room and everybody you've met and talked to, you want to buy their book, and then it becomes, the financial aspect goes up a little bit,
right? I do have your book on my bookshelf because of that exact thing, so I know exactly what you're talking about.
But hopefully, if your books are out there, it kind of, goes around. You get a little few sold, maybe a lot bought.
Yeah. But I mean, yeah, there's there's the bar too and all that fun. But yeah, and I'm definitely gonna have a nice little budget going for my foodie trip, so I'm excited.
There's places, and there's lots of great places that aren't even that far away from where Windward's Glide is.
Yeah,
So.
that's what Catherine was telling me. She's like, we won't stray too far away, but
no.
But yeah, I was like, yeah, I definitely need to make that a goal, is to see some of Calgary for once in my life, because literally I get off the plane, I take the Uber to the hotel, and I'm there at the hotel for the most part. I mean, there's some time to myself, I don't like just sitting in hotel rooms, so I like to get out, and I'll go out, but I can only go so far on foot, and even with Uber, I don't know the city, so I don't want to Uber to someplace I don't know, so I kind of just stay around in the area. And like I said, the furthest I went was to that Tim Hortons, so right behind the bridge there on the other side of the freeway there. But that was a trek. That was quiet. That was a nice little walk.
Yeah, that's some distance. You passed a lot of good stuff to get to that Tim Hortons.
So. Yeah, I know there's a mall somewhere over in that area.
Yeah,
too.
Yeah. That's right.
I have not been to the mall yet either. I've not. I've not
it's okay. You've seen one mall. You've seen
one. Chance to walk along the Bow River. It's actually a gorgeous walk along.
Yeah, and I do a lot of steps now, so that's my thing, is I try to get at least 15,000 steps in every day, so that's certainly something that would help that goal for sure. I mean, I get enough steps, I'll get the 15,000 steps at Windward's Glide pretty easily, but yeah, the river, I do see that, and I think that's something I would want to walk around and take a look at. But anyway, guys, this has been wonderful. This is a great way to go out, and I really, really appreciate the both of you joining me for it. And I couldn't have thought of a better duo to have to do this with. So thank you so much. It's been a real pleasure tonight, and I can't wait till we see each other in a year now live, and that should be a lot of fun, and I'm real excited about that. So tell everybody where they can get all your wonderful stuff that we've been talking about. So Lindy, why don't you start this time, and we'll go the opposite direction, and tell everybody where they can find you at, and how they can get your books, and what your books are called and everything, so that everybody can go check them out.
They are posted on my website, which is www, of course, tranquiloretreat.com. You'll find my blog there, which is a lot of Q&As with authors, so lots of helpful information there. There's a page with my books there, a resource section, and information about how you can come and stay at a casita and get some writing done, walk the beach, and hike in the mountains. You're welcome to come and do that here too. And Joe, if you want to do, and Mark, if you want to do some rounds of food here, we don't have. Well, we have some national beers. I'm not sure.
I don't need beer to have a good time.
Okay, great. And so, yeah, that's where you can find me. And Joe, I was absolutely delighted to hang out with you here at your bar again, and I appreciate the invitation. So thank you.
Yeah, no problem. It's always great to have you. And yeah, I'm definitely gonna one of these years I'll get down there and we'll hang out in person, and we'll see each other next year in Calgary. But yeah, I'm really looking forward to that. And thanks again for being
And you
here.
mentioned to give the names of my books. So
Yeah.
it's the Summer Triangle Trilogy. So the lines between our stars, the bridges between us, and the clashing of our worlds. And the book to encourage young writers is called Creative Constellations.
Nice. Awesome. Thank you, my friend. Thank you so much. All right, Mark, tell everybody about your books, where they can find you, and all that wonderful stuff. I know you love doing this.
I do. I do because I am a shameless self-promoter. I I can be found at www.markwatson.ca. So it's MarcWatson. And you can find my right now 3 books that I've got out. My debut novel, Death Dresses Poorly. My first in my Catching Hell duology, that's Catching Hell Part 1 Journey. And you can find my self-published anthology collection of stories from the same world as Catching Hell, which is called Between Conversations: Tales from the World of Ryujin. And very shortly, you will have the re-released, remastered, all brand new and fantastic into the hands of my favorite publisher, Fluky Fiction, and that's going to be Catching Hell Part 2 Destination. And so you'll see some information on that soon, and then hopefully, provided they like what they see on that thing that just got spit out there in my brain onto the keyboard, perhaps sometime next year. I know that they're pretty busy, so we will see. And I just want to say thank you once again to Randy and his amazing team. I want to say hi to my friends who I can't see this year. I can't wait to see you soon. And and I want to say thanks to my family for putting up with me for being a writer, because that is not an easy thing. And yeah, thank you so much to you, Joe, for once again having me on the show. I love talking to you. I cannot wait to see you in person, my brother. And it's always a good time hanging out with you.
Thank you, my friend. Yes, it's wonderful. I appreciate it. Thank you so much for being here as always, and thank you to all to the great chat that we had. We had a wonderful chat. Everybody was here. I know that everybody was reminiscing a bit and getting together again. And I really love the aspect of what we do here as part of that. Getting people together as When Words Collide does as well. And so I'm just really honored to represent them with this show, and to do the things that we've done with them, and what we're going to do in the future. And I'm really excited for what we're doing in the future. And going now, we are by far not going anywhere. We've got an entire slate of new and familiar programming that you all will recognize coming up in the fall. We start on September 4th, and we just go until the end of the year. So I'm real excited about all that. It's going to be wonderful. So come check us out for that. Because it all starts with one word and one phrase and one thing. And I should mention that I am a writer. I do have books out there. Monks of Killing is the first book. If you can find it, you can get it on audiobook, because I am stuck in that endless loop of ACX contracting. So it's still out there, and you can find that. And if you want a hard copy, I think I've got some laying around, but you should wait, and I'll get you, if you want to wait for the second version, which yes, I will get to and bring back out there, and we'll get you both of those versions so you can have the two. Mark, I will get you a second version, I promise. And to everybody out there who was asking for it, I'll get you a second version as well, and a hard copy of the first one if you don't have that already. And yeah, I also have We the Moral Majority, which is the second book, which you could read separately. You don't have to read Amongst the Killing to get to Read the Moral Majority. It will help you, but you don't have to. It is enough of a standalone on its own that it can be read like that. So that is that is the second book in the Duality of Truth series, or trilogy. So go check that out from Three Furious Press. You can go to threefuriouspress.com, search my name, and I'll be you'll be able to find it. They are my publisher, and I'm very, very happy that they are. And the third book will be out very, very soon. And I have a fantasy series I'm working on, so get ready for that, because that's the next thing after I get through this trilogy and all kinds of other great stuff. I'm going to be making films again eventually as well, so I'm real excited about that, to get back into that. Yeah. And you can find us at goindynow.com. If you're here already, so smash the like button, subscribe, do all those wonderful things that you do. And remember that it's always time to go indie now. And it's sad to say, but it has to be done. The bar is closed, everybody. Thank you so much for this run. It's been a wonderful run. Cheers, Mama Estrada. Cheers to everybody out there. I really appreciate you all. I love you all. And we'll see you on the other side. Take care.